Is this thing on? Today is going to be my second book review for this series of book reviews, and it is on Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. The Substack will be focused on more generally psychological focused laws that Robert Greene gets into. It's a really great book. The book itself, what it does is it uses examples from history, particularly antiquity and pre-Enlightenment history. There is some modern history in there as well, but it is focused more antiquity and medieval history, and then there's also history from the Enlightenment period and modern period. And it's talking about power, various concepts in power, 48 particular laws that Robert Greene highlights using historical examples. And so if you're interested in history, particularly either military history or political history, this is a really fun read, especially because it's diving into different time periods. You're not singling out one specific time period, and that's what makes a book entertaining, is you learn about power in different contexts of history that can also sometimes be applied to today. Sometimes it's not always exactly applied in the same way because there has been democratization of power post-Enlightenment, but that doesn't mean that there isn't any value in this book from learning from history of ancient cultures or history from medieval cultures. There's always been power in human cultures. So that is the fun parts of this book. And I'm going to be talking about three particular laws that don't really have what he calls reversals, which are ways you can actually sort of take the opposite position of the law and still gain power from it. So the laws I'll be talking about are do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. The other laws I will be talking about will be on creating spectacles and mastering the art of timing. Creating spectacles, sort of playing on people's imagery instead of just using words, and mastering the art of timing I'll get into, but I have some interesting quotes from those particular laws that are potentially relevant to today, but just relevant to conversation, period. So the first quote is from the isolation law. Do not build fortresses. Since humans are social creatures, it follows that social arts that make us pleasant to be around can be practiced only by constant exposure and circulation. The more you are in contact with others, the more graceful and at ease you become. Isolation, on the other hand, engenders an awkwardness in your gestures and leads to further isolation as people start avoiding you. What this highlights is isolating yourself from the world. You begin to lose your social skills. You begin to lose the ability to communicate with others, and in doing so, you potentially lose power, because power is involving the realm of the social. It's involving communication. It's involving being around other people. And so when you isolate yourself, what you are doing is you are losing any potential power you may have in the world. But outside of that, you're also becoming less able to be around other people. And you can still sort of like, if you're not necessarily wanting to get into the world of politics and or really any corporate ladder of any kind, any hierarchy, then being alone can be a good time to learn about yourself. But at the end of the day, how much can you truly learn about yourself and still be in positive spirits? Humans are social creatures is the key element from that quote. Moving on to the timing piece in the book. The quote I've selected is, "Time is an artificial concept that we ourselves have created to make limitless of eternity and the universe more bearable, more human. Since we have constructed the concept of time, we are also able to mold it to some degree to play tricks with it. The time of a child is long and slow, with vast expanses. The time of an adult whizzes by frighteningly fast. Time then depends on perception, which we know can be willfully altered. This is the first thing to understand in mastering the art of timing. If the inner turmoil caused by our emotions tends to make time move faster, it follows that once we control our emotional responses to events, time will move much more slowly." What it's saying is once you sort of begin to master your emotions and not react with rage or whatever deep emotional thought, you are able to sort of process things even in short time spans to most other people relatively quickly, and then the world seems to pass by slower. And so if you can learn to control your emotion, you can actually learn to master time as a concept. And the last comment for this video from the book, but there's lots of great nuggets of information in this book. I highly recommend it. It's related to creating spectacles and using images instead of thoughts and words as a way to accrue power. Using words to plead your case is risky business. Words are dangerous instruments and often go astray. The words people use to persuade is usually virtually invite us to reflect on them with words of our own. We mull them over and often end up believing the opposite of what they say. That is part of our perverse nature. It happens that words offend us, stirring associations unintended by the speaker. The visual, on the other hand, short-circuits the labyrinth of words. It strikes with an emotional power and immediacy that leaves no gaps for reflection and doubt. He's essentially saying, if you are in the nature of politics, images, sort of at the most minimal amount of words in order to persuade a point. You don't need to be forever speaking in order to gain power. You need imagery. You need association. And words have the potential to backfire more often than images. But then images are more emotionally appealing, but they're also emotionally devastating sometimes. So be careful with images as well. But this one, they say there's no reversal because images are important for people to understand who you are. Anyways, this is a highly recommended book. Very few books I will say put in the highly recommend category, and I would definitely put this one on. So thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your time, and I'll see you in the next one.